And now we come to Sutta number 4.7.62 on the Book of the Force, or Chapter of the Force. Now the house father Anathapindika came to visit the Exalted One. As he sat at one side, the Exalted One said this to the house father Anathapindika: House father, there are these 4 kinds of bliss to be won by the householder who enjoys the pleasures of sense from time to time and when occasion offers. What for? The bliss of ownership, the bliss of wealth, the bliss of deathlessness, the bliss of blamelessness. And what, house father, is the bliss of ownership? In this case, a clansman has wealth acquired by energetic striving, amassed by strength of arm, won by sweat, lawful and lawfully gotten. At the thought, wealth is mine, acquired by energetic striving, amassed by strength of arm, won by sweat, lawful and lawfully gotten. Bliss comes to him, satisfaction comes to him. This, house father, is called the bliss of ownership. And what is the bliss of wealth? In this case, house father, a clansman, by means of wealth acquired by energetic striving, amassed by strength of arm, won by sweat, lawful and lawfully gotten, both enjoys his wealth and does meritorious deeds therewith. At the thought, by means of wealth acquired, I both enjoy my wealth and do meritorious deeds. Bliss comes to him, satisfaction comes to him. This, house father, is called the bliss of wealth. And what is the bliss of deathlessness? In this case, a clansman owes no debt, great or small, to anyone. At the thought, I owe no debt, great or small, to anyone. Bliss comes to him, satisfaction comes to him. This, house father, is called the bliss of deathlessness. And what is the bliss of blamelessness? In this case, house father, the Aryan disciple is blessed with blameless action of body, blameless action of speech, blameless action of mind. At the thought, I am blessed with blameless action of body, speech and mind. Bliss comes to him, satisfaction comes to him. This is called the bliss of blamelessness. Such, house father, are the 4 kinds of bliss to be won by the householder who enjoys the pleasures of sense from time to time when occasion offers. That's the end of the sutta. You see, in this sutta, the Buddha said that lay people can enjoy these few things. The first 2 is the bliss of ownership and the bliss of wealth. They are related. Firstly, the first one, the bliss of ownership, is because a person, because of energetic striving by his own sweat, he has lawfully gotten all these things that he owns. So because of that, he gets a lot of satisfaction from it. And the second one, wealth, is about the same. He also sweats for it, acquires a lot of wealth, and with his wealth, he does meritorious deeds. That's a wise man, because whatever we enjoy in the world, we are digging into our bank account of blessings. So as we enjoy life, we are using up our blessings. So it's always very important to plant back the seeds of meritorious deeds, so that another day they will sprout, and you can enjoy the fruits of your meritorious deeds again. And that's why the Buddha always advises that when you have wealth, to do meritorious deeds so that you can get to enjoy it again and again. So from the first 2 items here, you can see very clearly that Buddha never condemned the acquiring of property and wealth. Only thing that the Buddha condemned is unwholesome actions. If we do unwholesome actions to acquire property or wealth, or use the property or wealth to do unwholesome actions, then the Buddha would condemn such action. But if we know how to use our wealth wisely, then it is good to have wealth also. And then the third one is the bliss of debtlessness. You don't owe anybody anything, and you get satisfaction from knowing that you don't owe people anything. The last one is very important, the bliss of blamelessness. If we don't have blameworthy action, we have not done something that is blamable through the three karmas of body, speech and mind, then when we are about to pass away especially, the mind is happy. It does not have a lot of remorse. That's why you find people who keep sila, keep their precepts. When they are about to pass away, the mind is not disturbed. There is no remorse in their mind. So because of that, their mind is very clear until the moment they pass away. Their mind is very clear. Whereas if you see some other person who doesn't keep the precepts, the mind, the remorse disturbs him. And this, because of remorse, at the thought of having done wrong, the mind becomes very restless and disturbed. And these people, they become senile. You see there's some people senile, even before they pass away, they are already chattering nonsense words. And when they are about to pass away, they see fearful sights, because they are about to be reborn into a woeful plane, and all the things that consciousness conjures up in their mind are all frightening things. Whereas another person, like recently I've seen an old man in Kanga, about 81 years old, just about 3 weeks ago he passed away. I went to see him. He had a lot of visions, but they were good visions, pleasant visions, and he was very happy, and he died very peacefully. So, coming back to this wealth, the chances of committing unwholesome actions increase when we have more wealth. It's difficult to find somebody with a lot of wealth and power who does not misuse the wealth and power. So the only thing that can help us walk the proper path is the Dhamma. That's why it's very important to have the Dhamma as our refuge. We always take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So we have the Dhamma as our guide. There's nothing more important than an understanding of life from the Dhamma. So, because the Dhamma teaches us to conduct ourselves well. Even you have wealth also, you can enjoy, and still you won't make a mess of life, and you'll have a good rebirth even if you have a lot of wealth and enjoy this life, and you go to the next life and still you enjoy because of the guidance you get from the Dhamma. Now we come to another sutta, 4.7.67. On a certain occasion, the Exalted One was staying near Savatthi in Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's park. Now at that time, at Savatthi, a certain monk had been bitten by a snake and had died. So a great number of monks came to visit the Exalted One, and on coming to him, saluted him and sat down at one side. So seated, those monks said this to the Exalted One: Lord, a certain monk here in Savatthi has been bitten by a snake and has died. Then the Buddha said, Then monks, that monk did not suffuse with a heart of goodwill, metta, the 4 royal families of snakes. Had he done so, that monk would not have died of snake bite. What are the 4 royal families of snakes? The royal family of snakes called Virupaka, that called Erapata, that called Chabhyaputta, and the royal family of snakes called Kantha Gotamaka. Monks, that monk did not suffuse with heart of goodwill these 4 royal families of snakes. Had he done so, he would not have died of snake bite. Monks, for self-warding, for self-guarding, for self-protection, I do enjoin that you suffuse with the heart of goodwill these 4 royal snakes of these 4 royal families of snakes thus. Metta towards Virupaka, towards Erapata, metta. Metta towards Chabhyaputta, towards Kantha Gotamaka, metta. Metta towards the footless, towards the 2-footed, metta. Metta towards the 4-footed, towards the many-footed, metta. May the footless do me no harm. May not the two-footed do me harm. May the four-footed do me no harm. May not the many-footed do me harm. All creatures, all that breathe, all beings, may they all see what is auspicious. May no evil come to them. Measureless is the Buddha, measureless the Dhamma, measureless the Sangha. Limited are creeping things, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, spiders, lizards, and rats. Made by me is this protection, made by me is this parita. May those beings go away. Homage to the Exalted One, homage to the 7 Sama Sambuddhas. That's the end of the sutta. The last part that I read out to you is the parita, called the Kanda Parita. Goes something like this. Virupake me metang era pate me chabya pute me metang kana gotamake cha apadake me metang dipadake me chatupade me metang bahupade me mamang apadako hingsi mamang hingsi dipadako, etc., etc. So this sutta is about this parita. Now this monk, he got killed by this snake. Normally snakes don't bite us. Normally, unless they are cornered, unless they are threatened, their life is threatened, then only they bite us. For example, sometimes you walk in the dark, you don't have a torchlight, you don't know, you step on them, and then it's likely that they will bite you. And now, if they bite you, how hard they bite you, how much poison goes into your blood, depends on conditions. It's just like, imagine, for example, you step on a dog. If it's your own dog, you step on the tail or you step on the foot, it will naturally try to bite you because it is in pain. But if it is your own dog, even though it bites you, it doesn't bite very hard. But if it's somebody else's dog you're not familiar with, you step on the tail, he'll come and bite you very hard. So in the same way, how hard the snake bites you depends on whether you have metta or not. So if we have metta, we have a lot of goodwill, and this snake, they can sense also. So when they bite us, it won't be very hard. That's why the Buddha said that's important to have metta. There's another sutta somewhere else also where the Buddha said, if we have metta, loving kindness of goodwill towards all living beings, then wherever we go, we are not disturbed by these spirits, whether they are ghosts or devas. They won't disturb us because they can read our minds. They know what type of mind we have. So if we have a mind of goodwill towards all beings, it is always for our protection. So the Buddha taught his disciples to chant this Kanda Parita, especially if we go to lonely, secluded places. Suppose you stay in a cave where there's likely to be snakes and possibly spirits. So we chant this. This is a very, very useful parita. It says besides the 4 royal snake families, you give metta towards footless beings. That means snakes, ghosts, etc. And then towards 2-footed beings, like human beings, and towards 4-footed beings, like dogs, etc. And then towards many-footed beings, like centipedes, scorpions, etc. Then you say, may the footless do me no harm, may not the 2-footed do me harm, etc. So, if they are psychic, if they are spirits, when they listen to this, they know that you don't mean them any harm, and you don't want also to be harmed. So it is very useful parita for forest monks. Forest monks like to chant this parita wherever we go, somewhere where we feel a bit afraid. Then the next sutta is 4.7.70. The Buddha said, at such time, monks, as rajas are unrighteous or unjust, the ministers of rajas also are unrighteous. When ministers are unrighteous, Brahmins and householders also are unrighteous. Thus, Townsfolk and villages are unrighteous. This being so, moon and sun go wrong in their courses. This being so, constellation and stars do likewise. Days and nights, months and fortnights, seasons and years are out of joint. The winds blow wrong, out of season. Thus the devas are annoyed. This being so, the sky deva bestows not sufficient rain. Rains not falling seasonably, the crops ripen in wrong season. Monks, when crops ripen in wrong season, men who live on such crops are short-lived, ill-favored, weak and sickly. But monks, when rajas are righteous, the ministers of rajas also are righteous. When ministers are righteous, Brahmins and householders also are righteous. Thus townsfolk and villages are righteous. This being so, moon and sun go right in their courses. This being so, constellations and stars do likewise. Days and nights, months and fortnights, seasons and years go on their courses regularly. Winds blow regularly and in due season. Thus the devas are not annoyed, and the sky deva bestows sufficient rain. Rains falling seasonably, the crops ripen in due season. Monks, when crops ripen in due season, men who live on those crops are long-lived, well-favored, strong and free from sickness. That's the end of the sutta. So this sutta is saying that leaders are very important. Here is rajas. Rajas means kings. In those times we had kings. But nowadays it would be government leaders, etc. And because the actions of leaders influence those below them. And in our religion it's also the same. The leaders of our religions are our monks. So if monks set a good example, then our religion will do well. But if monks set a bad example, just like a leader, then people are discouraged, people are disappointed, and they don't come to the temples, etc. And then our sasana, our religion will suffer. That's why it's very important for monks and government leaders, etc., to set a good example. And the reason why people go on the wrong course is because of greed, hatred and delusion. If we succumb to greed, hatred and delusion, then we do wrong things. And because of our wrong actions, the devas, they are annoyed. When the devas are annoyed, they don't give rain when it's supposed to rain. And we can compare this sutta with another sutta which I had read some time ago about the population of the earth being very great a long time ago. And then the Buddha said now it's people are very much less than before because of several reasons. One is because of greed, hatred and delusion. People fight and kill each other, so the population decreased. Another one is the devas are annoyed because of the greed, hatred and delusion of human beings. They don't give rain at the proper time. And because of that there is famine, there is starvation, so people, the population of people decrease. Another one that they had read earlier was sometimes the devas, they can let go very fierce yakas, very fierce demons that can kill human beings. And it's only because human beings are walking the good path, greed, hatred and delusion is not so great, that these higher devas, they protect us, they hold back these fierce demons, fierce yakas. But when we are too much, then they let them go and we will have to suffer. So we come to another sutta, 4.8.73. The Buddha said, monks, possessed of four things, a man is to be understood as being unworthy. What for? Herein, monks, the unworthy man, even unasked, speaks out what is discreditable to another. What then would he say if asked? If, however, he is obliged to speak on being questioned, then without reserve or equivocation, he utters this praise of another to the full and in all details. This, monks, is to be understood as the meaning of the saying, this worthy is an unworthy one. Then again, the unworthy one, even when asked, does not speak out what is to another's credit, much less when asked. If, however, he is obliged to speak on being questioned, then with reserve and equivocation he utters praise of another grudgingly and in brief. This, monks, is to be understood as the meaning of the saying, "This worthy is an unworthy one." Again, monks, the unworthy one, even when asked, does not speak out what is discreditable to himself, much less does he do so when unasked. If, however, he is obliged to speak on being questioned, then with reserve and equivocation he utters grudgingly and in brief what is to his own discredit. This, monks, is to be understood as the meaning of the saying, "This worthy is an unworthy one." Once more, monks, the unworthy one, even unasked, speaks out what is creditable to himself. What then does he do when asked? If, however, he is obliged to speak on being questioned, then without reserve or equivocation he sings his own praises to the full and in all details. This, monks, is to be understood as the meaning of the saying, "This worthy is an unworthy one." Thus, possessed of these four things, one is to be understood as an unworthy one, and vice versa for a worthy person. So, in this sutta, the Buddha is saying an unworthy person is one who is too quick to speak ill of another's faults, and is not ready to speak well of another's good qualities. But of his own, if he has faults, he's always trying to hide his faults. And if he's got some good points, he'll blow his own trumpet. That is an unworthy person. But one thing we must know, that there is a difference in saying what is wrong and talking bad about someone on a personal level. There's a difference between pointing out what is right and what is wrong on an impersonal level, and speaking bad about somebody on a personal level. There is a difference. For example, in one of the earlier suttas we read, in the Anguttara Nikaya 1.11.1, the Buddha said, what is not Dhamma should be pointed out as not Dhamma. If somebody teaches something which is not according to the Dhamma, and he claims that it is according to the Dhamma, and we know that it is not according to the Dhamma, then we should point it out that it is not according to the Dhamma. Otherwise, it will harm many people if they learn the wrong Dhamma. If we point out what is right Dhamma and what is wrong Dhamma, then it will benefit many people. A little later, we will see another sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 4.100, where the Buddha talk about four kinds of person. One person speaks in dispraise of what deserves not praise, but does not speak in praise of what deserves praise. Then a second person, he speaks in praise of what deserves praise, but not in dispraise of what deserves not praise. And then a third person, he speaks neither in dispraise of what deserves not praise, nor in praise of the praiseworthy. And the fourth type of person, he speaks both in dispraise of what deserves not praise and in praise of what is praiseworthy. And the Buddha asked somebody, of these four types of person, which is the best? And then this person gave an answer, but the Buddha did not agree. And then the Buddha said, the best person is one who speaks in dispraise of what deserves not praise and in praise of what is praiseworthy. In other words, what should be dispraised, he dispraises. What should be praised, he praises. The Buddha said that is the most admirable person because he talks very straight. He discriminates on the proper occasion. So we have to know there's a difference between being personal and telling facts. Now the next sutta is 4.8.74. But this sutta is a little bit more for monks. The Buddha said, just as monks, when a young wife is first led home to her husband, either by day or night, she at first feels exceeding great fear and bashfulness in the presence of her mother-in-law, her father-in-law, her husband, and even towards servants and work people. But as time goes on, owing to living together and intimacy, she addresses mother-in-law, father-in-law, and husband thus, away with you, what do you know? Just in like manner, monks, a certain monk here, maybe, when he first goes forth, whether by day or night, from the home to the homeless life, feels exceeding great fear and bashfulness in the presence of monks and nuns, disciples, male and female, even of novices who serve in the monastery. But as time goes on, owing to living together and intimacy, he addresses teacher and preceptor thus, away with you, what do you know? Wherefore, monks, thus must you train yourselves. I will dwell in mind like a young wife newly arrived. That is how you must train yourselves. In this sutta, we can see that the tradition in India is that wife, when a man and woman marries, the wife goes to live with the husband's family. That's the Indian tradition. So the Buddha is saying when a new wife is brought to the home of the husband, she's very shy, very scared. But later, after many years, she becomes very arrogant. It's possible. So in the same way, the Buddha said, a new monk, when he first goes forth, he might be very scared of the superiors, scared of the teacher, acharya, and the preceptor, upajjhaya. But later he becomes arrogant and he talks very coarse with them. So the Buddha said this shouldn't be, that a monk should always behave as though he's a young wife, like just the simile of the young wife newly arrived, and must be respectful to the superior monks. But in a way, this sutta can also be applied to lay people. The simile of the wife, newly married. Somebody is newly married and after many years should not be arrogant. Now we come to the next sutta, 4.8.77. The Buddha said, monks, there are these four unthinkables, not to be thought of, thinking of which one would be distraught and come to grief. What are the four? Of Buddhas, monks, the range is unthinkable, not to be thought of. Of one who is in jhana, monks, the range of his jhana is unthinkable, not to be thought of. The result of karma, monks, is unthinkable, not to be thought of. World speculation, monks, is unthinkable, not to be thought of, thinking of which one would be distraught and would come to grief. These monks are the four unthinkables, thinking of which one would be distraught and would come to grief. That's the end of the sutta. Yes, just now the sutta, the Buddha said there are four things we should not think about, should not think too much about. The first one is the range of a Buddha. Range of a Buddha possibly could mean the power of a Buddha, the ability of a Buddha. It's hard to fathom the power of a Buddha. No need to speculate about it, the Buddha said. Second one is jhana, the range of jhana. This one's a bit hard to understand, the depth of jhana or something like that. The third one is the result, the vipaka of karma. Karma is intentional action. And to speculate on the karma is very difficult, the Buddha said, to think about karma. Very hard to explain karma, because karma involves many, many lifetimes. Past lifetimes we have not seen. So sometimes some people, they find it a bit difficult sometimes to believe that there's such a thing as karma. Why? Because they say a particular person has done a lot of evil. Yet, in spite of being an evil person, he's enjoying life. And this is one of those things, because we haven't seen his past karma. In the past, he might have done a lot of good. People can change, People often change. For example, a person when he's poor, he's very hardworking, very humble, and all the good qualities you can find, because he's low. He's low in life. But later, when he comes into a lot of money, becomes a very, very rich multimillionaire, I see that person will change a lot, can become very arrogant, can be changed in many, many ways, so that you see the former person and the new person, it look like two different persons altogether. So that's why it's very hard to see that a person, you see him doing evil, but in the past he might have been a very virtuous person. That's why he's enjoying life, having a lot of good vipaka, good fruits of karma. So the Buddha said, the result of karma, and don't speculate too much about karma. The fourth one is world speculation, about the future of the world. It's something that Buddha said no point to think about. Things happen that are quite unexpected, like people never expected USSR, Soviet Union, to break up. Such a big world power suddenly broke up. People like Princess Diana suddenly dying.